Hey, welcome back. Last time we were going through the first couple verses of Matthew chapter 2 and we saw the testimony of the Magi coming to see Jesus and how it shows us that Jesus is the glory of God, spoken of, prophesied about in Isaiah chapter 60 verse 3. And today we're going to continue Matthew chapter 2 starting in verse 3. It says, "When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. In Bethlehem in Judea, they replied. For this is what the prophet has written, but you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time that the star had appeared. Now, just stopping there, in verse 7, we have to ask ourselves, these Magi, they weren't Jews, they weren't people who would traditionally be thought of as waiting for the Messiah or looking for the Messiah, and yet they are. They've traveled from foreign lands, they've traveled from far away places to come and see the Messiah and to worship him, and yet the people, here the teachers of the law and the chief priests who traditionally have been waiting, longing for the Messiah, who had the scripture, who prophesied the Messiah, right in front of them and telling them where he was to be born, they weren't looking for him. Even when they had seen that the Magi came because they saw signs that something significant was happening, they themselves did not go. They had the scriptures in front of them, but they did not go to seek the Messiah. They knew about where he was to be born, they knew about these prophecies concerning him, but they weren't seeking him. And that's a real significant thing, even for us, because you might have the scriptures in front of you, but what good are they if you don't do them? If the scriptures don't lead you to Christ, then your knowledge of the scripture isn't sufficient. It's of no benefit to you. Jesus said in John chapter 5, "These are the scriptures that testify about me," he told the people, the Jews at that time. "They testify to me, but you refuse to come to me to have life." And so, that's John chapter 5 verse 39. If your scripture reading, if your knowledge of then it's worthless. You have worthless knowledge unless it leads you to him. But the second thing is, in this passage, we see the mystery, if you will, of revelation, the sovereign hand of God, the sovereign grace of God. You got to ask yourself, if the Magi were following a star, why didn't other people just look at that star and follow that star as well? It's because, obviously, this was some sort of divine, what do you say? Actually, it was God showing those Magi this star. Other people, even though that star's in the sky, they can all look. They weren't seeing it. It never crossed their minds that they themselves should follow that star. And there we see the sovereign grace of God. You see, Jesus speaks further about this in John chapter 6 verse 44. He says, "No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them." And in Matthew chapter 16, the same book, when Peter testifies that Jesus is the Son of the living God, he says, "Blessed are you, Simon son of Jonah, for this was revealed to you not by a flesh, but by my Father who is in heaven." And so, the revelation of who Jesus is to a person, even to you, is not because you're so smart or because you're so worthy, but it's the divine grace of God, the sovereign grace of God, having mercy on you and opening up your eyes. Now, a final thing about this passage is you might say, well, you know what, if there was a star in the sky, I would look, I wouldn't be like those teachers of the law who weren't paying attention to the signs in front of them. But you know what? God has even now given us a sign, given us a star, so to speak. And that star is the scripture. See, 2 Peter talks about this. It says in 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 19 through 20, we also have the prophetic message as something completely reliable. And you will do well to pay attention to it as to a light shining in a dark place until the day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts. That's verse 19, 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 19. You see, God has given us a star. It's not a star in the night sky, but it's the prophetic writings. If you study the scripture and you look at the prophecies, then you also will see the morning star. That is, you'll see Jesus rise in your hearts. You'll begin to see that it all points to him. And so I would ask you today, are you following that star that God has put before your eyes? Or are you like those teachers of the law back in Jesus' time who weren't paying any attention? They weren't looking for the Messiah. So which one are you? You can think and answer yourself. If you have liked this video, do subscribe and share to others.